Very good morning to all colleagues from TAAI and other members of the travel fraternity who may have joined this webinar. I'm sure all of you are busy and enjoying the tremendous rapid and robust rebound which we are seeing in the travel and tourism industry since the past month or so. So especially after the 2 years of despair and gloom which we have been through. Over the last couple of years, the team at TAAI has been very active in and working very hard to showcase new products, services, and technologies to the members. Products and services and technologies which would enhance service levels, add value to the travel agent's offering, and overall help in ease of doing business. Today's webinar presented by CardSe presents to all of us one such breakthrough technology, which could be of great benefit to travel agents. In a sense, CardSe is a digital payment app that converts any smartphone into what we call the credit card machine or the POS. And it allows you to accept payments from credit cards, debit cards, prepaid cards, UPI. We'll, of course, get to know more about it as we go through the presentation. But before we start the presentation, I would request President Mrs. Jyoti Mayal to say a few words and welcome all the attendees. Mrs. Mayal, over to you.
Thank you, Mish. I think that's one job I get to do every time. So it's an honor always. Yeah. Thank you once again, and good morning to all members and the office bearers, colleagues, all of them who are present on this platform today. Because I think that's our life now, technology, and that's where we are moving. But I'll also like to take this opportunity to personally welcome Jayjeet Bhattacharya on behalf of TAAI. And I actually started meeting him a couple of months back, and it took us all this time to get him on a platform to say, this is going to be good for our members and how can we take that forward. Because TAAI, like Amish just said, and especially with him, we've been working a lot where technology is concerned. And we always believe that, investing and supporting its membership, by bringing value-added services which could enhance the business of all our members, and bring in ease of business is very, very important. We also know that be it pre or post-pandemic, digitization of businesses, as Amish said, is playing a very crucial role in our lives, both personally and professionally. Like most of the transactions which we do on a daily basis, starting from grocery to buying electronic goods to travel bookings, etc., are through all digital platforms. I was never into a digital platform person, and I was never into buying anything online, always feeling that, God knows where my money is going to go. I also, from a local vendor, quickly moved on during the COVID time to buying stuff, all stuff online, and we've all done that because, the shops were closed, everything was closed, and how we moved, how we quickly evolved, how we quickly changed our lives, and adapted. So when need arises, I think we as human beings quickly adapt things. Saying that, I'm also going to say, but, people still get lost with frequent evolvements of technology and very challenging ways. And the most important food for thought here, I would also say when, Jayjeet is speaking, that are we really taking and enjoying the real benefits of digitization? So on various occasions and while traveling across India or dealing with counterparts, we often come across people who still do not trust the tech-based services, although they have their own reasons to justify that. But most of the time, the reasons are unawareness and doubt of safety. Are we still struggling to, trust the digitization happening around us and the way and direction which the world is moving? That's a question which again needs to be answered. So such questions are the reason why we decided to take this initiative and organize the web workshop with CardSe. The idea is to get a better know-how of things, how digitization, especially related to payment gateways, online, offline transactions, using formats like cards, barcodes, scanning devices, etc. And most importantly, not fill our screen, which I keep looking at my telephone also. It's like filled up with apps. So how do we really get away with all those? So we in the travel trade transact business with people from all walks of life. And the people engaged in businesses also come from all walks. Therefore, we at TAAI believe that it is very pertinent to address real-time challenges that our fraternity faces on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure that today's session will be an eye-opener for all of us, and also it will set the tone for more clarity on the usage of financial digitization as part of our business as going forward. because no one is going to carry currency in the future, I feel. And this is the way we are going to start living in plastic. And we used to say that for the Americas, that, they live in plastic and they're going to die in plastic. And I think that's where our travel sector is also going to be moving forward. And because you need to give service instantly. So not taking more of your time, I'd like to once again welcome everyone, and request Jayjeet, of course, to, please go ahead, answer everyone's questions, satisfy them. And I'm sure Amish is going to do a wonderful job here. Thank you once again, Amish, for letting me share my small thoughts on before we really have a good in-depth session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Thank you very much. And now getting down to the business end to the presentation, let me introduce you to Dr. Jayjeet Bhattacharya, founder and CEO of CardSe. Dr. Bhattacharya is a noted expert in technology-led governance and is the president of the Center for Digital Economic Policy Research. He is also the author of 6 books, including the first ever book released in India on e-governance. And he had the honor of having that book released by the then President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam. He has held leadership roles in various MNCs such as Accenture, IBM, HP, KPMG. He's a BTech from IIT Kanpur, an MBA from IIM Calcutta, and a PhD in computer science from IIT Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Bhattacharya, and stage is yours. Please, let's have a look at CardSe.
Thank you, Amish. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity, and thank you, Jyoti, for hand-holding us to this day, where we are able to interact with your members of TAAI. It's really our honor to be here and to have this discussion. I'll take off from what Amish was saying, that the travel industry is now seeing a lot of people coming back and wanting to travel. And before we start this conversation, Jyoti mentioned the same thing, that people are really wanting to travel after all these lockdowns and after 2 very miserable years. Now, the point is that when they're trying to travel, they may not have the cash in hand, and therefore many of them would like to actually pay by credit cards, wherein they can use the credit to fund their travel. The challenge happens when we don't have a POS machine in our hand, or as many of the members here have lots of agents out there, but each of the agents do not have a POS machine where they can accept the credit card payment. Now, what Jyoti was also mentioning is that people have a fear of using online systems. They may not go to the existing online systems and book a ticket. They would like to see a face in front of them and book it and book their travel, book their tickets through that person. Now, what we provide from CardSe is a solution with that scenario, where a lot of people would like to travel, but they don't want to book online because they've had serious problems. In fact, I myself had a lot of problem when I booked online. I could not change the tickets. This was for international travel. I was trying to come back to India, and they just could not change the ticket. It was middle of the night for me, 3 in the morning, to be able to call and make those ticket changes. And it was a Noida number. It was a national call. I finally gave up, and it was quite a pain. So one would really like to have a human on the other side with whom they can talk and make these reservations. So for that purpose, what we did was what Amish had mentioned, we have created a solution which can be downloaded into your phone, and you can start using your phone to accept payments from credit cards, debit cards, prepaid cards, QR codes, you name it, and you can accept the payment from there. So I'll start off with a little presentation. I'll give you a little demo, and then we can see if there's any question and we can take those questions. Can I request if I can be given the right to share my screen? It says host a disabled participant screen sharing. If I can be given the right to share.
Done, sir, done.
Thank you so much. So a quick background of CardSe. We are a Delhi-based company. We have over 260,000 merchants. As I mentioned, our solution enables any smartphone to accept any credit card, prepaid card, debit card payments. And we have grown very, very significantly in the last 12 months. We have grown by 135 times in the last 1 year. We are the first private sector app on the Indian government app store, M-Seva. And that just gives a lot of trust and faith that in fact Jyoti was mentioning about. So we are in fact endorsed by the government in that sense. So really what you need to do is very, very simple. All the complexities in the backend, all you need to do is download the application and enter a few details like your KYC details. KYC includes your PAN number, and that's about it, in fact. And you're good to go. And it helps all kinds of merchants, professionals, people are on the move. If you've got agents who are moving and they're taking the payments for the tickets, it fits them very well. Also, in many circumstances, you have seen that the customer comes and says, well, I want to travel, but I will make the payment later. And when they go back, 50% of dropout happens. That's roughly a number. It could be less, it could be more. But a lot of them drop out because they didn't make the payment right then at that point in time. They'll say, well, my checkbook isn't there, or something else is not there, or I don't have the cash in my pocket. But all of them do have cards in their pocket. As again, Jyoti mentioned, we are now living and dying by the plastic. So everybody has a plastic in their wallet. So if we can capture the payment at that point in time, we can increase the sales that we're having from a travel perspective. And that's what we're aiming to enable to happen. A quick background of the team. Amish had already introduced me. Our COO is Amit Gupta, again, 20 plus years of experience, BTech from IIT Kanpur, MBA from University of Texas, Austin, worked in Deloitte and Nokia and so on. Jayan Verma was former vice president at Paytm. He's BTech IIT Kanpur, MSN Computer Science, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Sharad Agarwal, who looks after operations, got over 25 years of experience. He worked for Wipro for 20 years, and he had his own startup before he joined us. He's BTech and MTech Aerospace from IIT Kanpur. Pia Bruce leads our Singapore operations. She is from Harvard University. Again, 30 years of experience in Accenture and United Nations Women and so on and so forth. So we have a very, very credible team in place. So this is how the solution really works. You download the application. After you enroll yourself, it takes about 5 to 6 minutes to enroll yourself. And then when you would like to get a payment, you put down the amount of the payment. Let's say you want to accept 100 rupees. So you put down 100 rupees in the phone, and then you go and choose what kind of system you would like to use to take the payment. You can have the payment using, let's say, the NFC. I'll just give a little demo to show what is NFC. It's essentially a technology where the card has this symbol in it. It looks like a Wi-Fi symbol. So most people in the market say it's a Wi-Fi card. So we also call it a Wi-Fi card over here. And with that, all you have to do is take the card and tap it in the back of the phone. The card gets read. You put in the CVV of the card. You wait for the OTP screen to open up. We enforce a second factor of authentication from a security perspective. The customer then enters the OTP and the transaction goes through. It's very simple, takes 7 to 8 seconds. It's faster than a regular POS machine, and it is very, very, very smooth. Now, what also happens is that many times a customer may not have a NFC card, or your agents may not have an NFC phone. They may not have an NFC enabled phone, which means they will not have this option enabled. It's only phones above rupees 10,000 that have NFC in it. So if they've got cheaper phones, then you can use the option called scan and pay, or use the phone camera, which is the second option. So I'll go to the next screen. So essentially what happens over here is the camera opens up and it uses our proprietary technology to scan the card without taking a picture. We are PCI DSS certified. We are aligned to the RBI regulations. And it brings you back to this screen where it has read the card. And again, you go through the same process. You enter the CVV and the OTP screen opens up and you enter the OTP. We don't take the MPIN because MPIN is only one PIN. So if that is entered in the phone, it may get compromised. OTP keeps changing, which is why we use the second factor of authentication as an OTP. The customer enters it once and it expires. Now, if none of them work for whatever reason, there isn't enough light, the scanning is not happening, NFC doesn't work, you can also enter the details manually. So you can just take the card, enter it in. So one way or the other, you can and will be able to accept the payment. And so the entire transaction goes through the same way. You can just punch in the details, you choose manual as the option, and the transaction goes through. Now, if some people would like to actually make a payment using the QR code because they've got PhonePe and Paytm and so on and so forth, you can do the same. You can choose QR code. And the good part with this QR code is it's a dynamic QR code. So the amount stays the way it is. It does not change. So when they scan it, they will see if you enter 11.5 rupees, they will only see 11.5 and they can't change the amount. The other point with this is that you can have one QR code per transaction, unlike a static QR code, which means that reconciliation becomes much simpler because you know that this is only this for this transaction that this QR code was given. And hence you can build systems on top of it, which does transaction to transaction reconciliation. Unlike with a static QR code, where you don't know where this QR code was used for because everybody swipes on the same QR code or everybody scans the same QR code. Here we generate a new QR code for every transaction. So some of the advantages that one gets is, in a regular POS machine, obviously you need a workforce to repair and maintain. They keep breaking down quite often. There is lost sales whenever there is a breakdown. You have to keep track of the printer, ink, paper roll, and so on and so forth. But in terms of CardSe, it's near zero maintenance cost. It can be fixed through software updates. If you want something specific, we can build it on the fly. You don't need to get another machine. We'll just send it over the fly onto your phones or onto your organization phones and update it. So if you need something very specific, we can build it for you. It's over-the-air updates. There is a call center-based support, and all the receipts go through WhatsApp. So you don't need to really print anything. And those receipts don't vanish after 6 to 7 days because they're not on a thermal ink paper. They are actually digital in nature. It'll stay in the WhatsApps. And therefore, there is a host of benefits in actually even switching over from a regular POS machine to a kind of system that we are providing. So if you look at some of the options that are there in the market for an online POS machine, you got an option from Pine Labs, from Paycor, UPOS, Axis Bank, Mozambique, but all of them only allow NFC-based payments, which is that tap and pay, that Wi-Fi card I was showing. Unfortunately, that allows only payment of less than rupees 5,000 and does not work on cheaper phones. With CardSe, you can do everything that everybody else does, plus it'll work on all the other kinds of phones. So in India, only 2% of the phones are NFC enabled. So you can actually make this work on 98% of the phones. So for sure, it works on 100% of the smartphones in this country. And you can accept payments for less than rupees 5,000 as well as greater than rupees 5,000. So some of our advisory board and key investors include Sanjeev Bajaj of Bajaj Capital, Raman Roy, who's supposed to be the father of Indian BPO, Richard Rickey, who was a former CEO of KPMG, Sanjay Rishi was the former president of American Express South Asia, and Mahesh Ramachandran was the CEO of SIG's Partner and Contact Funds. We have a whole bunch of awards and recognitions, starting from the National Startup Awards of Government of India. We got that in 2020. We got the India of Inclusion Challenge of Government of UK. We won that award. We got the award from IIM Calcutta Clarion Call Award for being the best startup in that year. We got award from the CIO Insider for being the most promising fintech solution. We recently got the award for the best mobile payments system from Voice and Data. So there's a large number of awards that we have got, which I'm sure will help towards the credibility of what we bring to the table. We have also worked very closely with NPCI. In fact, we got glowing feedback from NPCI. We helped the Singapore Nets, which is the Singapore's national payment system, integrate with the India's national payment system, which is NPCI and UPI. It was a geopolitically very important integration. We got that done with our capability that we have. we also are sought after for our views on various issues related to payments, cryptos, and so on and so forth. And we actively contribute to the policy making in the government. We have been very active in media also, and here's a quick snapshot of some of the coverages we have been having. We have quite a few patents, including one patent granted in US, and we've got 5 patents filed in India. And as I mentioned, we are PCI DSS certified, which just ensures that we are a bulletproof solution from a digital perspective. So that's the a quick presentation. What I'll do next is walk you through a demo of the solution. And I think that'll give a better idea of what we're really talking about. So here is what the interface of the solution looks like. It's very, very simple, right? And let's say you would like to charge 5.1 rupees. You can just enter that amount, click on next, and you will see the 4 options that I was talking about, which is QR code based payment, scan and pay, or tap and pay, which is NFC/Wi-Fi card, or manual entry. I'll choose the NFC Wi-Fi card as a first step. And each of the phones will have the sensors at different parts. So most phones have it at the top, but not my phone. So if I tap it in the top, it will not work. I have to tap the card at the bottom, and actually it's not even tap. I have to hold it for a couple of seconds and it gets read automatically. And all I need to do is then enter the CVV, and I click on next. And it takes me to the second factor of authentication. This is where your customer enters their OTP. So I've entered that and I clicked on next. And the payment goes through, right? And what I can also do is send a receipt. So I can click on next and I'll choose maybe Jyoti's number, and I'll just send it for the sake of it. Right, so this is how I fill it up, and I click on send receipt and it will go through. This is what the receipt looks like. I've not yet sent it. Now I've clicked on share, it goes through WhatsApp. And she would have received a message which looks like this at the bottom. And one can click on that and one gets a receipt. Yes. Thank you. So it's that simple, and that message stays. You can also go back and check what that payment was about. So here are the details of all the payments you have received. And so you can do a reconciliation very, very simply. And this is reconciliation against card payments, against QR code payments, against debit card payments. Everything comes in one single stream. And you can keep sending the receipt back. If somebody says, I didn't get it, you can send it again. It's all there in your phone. You don't need to reprint anything. Now I'll go back and show the second kind of payment receipts. The first was tap and pay. I can also go and say use phone camera, because many of the phones don't have NFC. So I use phone camera, and all I do is I scan the card. It gets scanned, and I come back to the same screen and I enter the CVV, and it takes me back to the same screen where I make a payment. So the OTP is entered by the customer. I've yet to receive the OTP, so I'm just waiting. Yeah, I've got it. And I press next, and it goes ahead and completes the transaction. It's really as simple as that, right? And any of your users can, or any of your agents can start using it. Now there's one more way of payment, which is the QR code base. So I'm just putting 1 rupee over here. Let me put 1.4 rupees and I click next and I use QR code as the option. And you see this QR code comes up. So if any of you have got Paytm or Google Pay or anything, and if you scan it, you will see 1.4 rupees showing up on your phone and you can't change that amount. And that's the specific amount that you'll be forced to pay. Not that I want you to pay 1.4 rupees, but the idea is that there is no difference between what you enter and what the customer actually pays. Quite a few times you enter 50,000 rupees, the customer pays 5,000 and there is a problem. 10 gets missed out or some amount gets missed out. That will not happen in this kind of a payment through QR code. So those are the quick, that's a quick background of what we have. There are a few other things that we can put in, but I'll take a pause here, see if there's any questions, and maybe the questions will lead to more clarifications and answers. So thank you again, and I'm open to any questions.
We already have quite a few questions. One of the questions I think which is quite interesting, firstly, is are all cards accepted, including international cards?
Yes, all cards are accepted. We will enable the international cards for you specifically. We don't enable it for everybody because of the fear of fraud. But we can do a double due diligence on the specific people who would need to have international cards accepted, and we'll enable that. That's not an issue.
There was another interesting question which says, is it possible to generate a link and send it to a customer to make a payment?
We haven't yet enabled it. We'll be enabling it in a couple of weeks' time. So the answer is yes, but we'll have to wait for a few more weeks to do that.
So a physical card is a must. I mean, it cannot be done without.
We were basically solving the problem that Jyoti was mentioning, that people would like to have a person in front of them and do the person with the transaction with a human. But we're enabling the link in a couple of weeks' time. So by middle of May, one should have the link-based payment.
So at least from Indian cards, you have Master, Visa, Amex, Diners, all of them are accepted.
Everything works. Amex, RuPay, Diners Club, everything works.
And now the most important question for everyone is, what are the charges for the transaction?
So,
I mean, okay. Yeah. Let me word it differently. Firstly, to start with, do you have any charges for setting up or any monthly charges or any annual charges for maintenance of the software or anything of that kind?
So that's a good news, Amish. There are no charges on a monthly basis or for a setup. It's absolutely free. It's very, very simple. There's no entry barrier. And that's where we are far better than what's there in the market in terms of hardware costs. So you can start using us without any charges at all.
And what about transaction charges?
So there are transaction charges. So we charge for a normal credit card, we charge 1.99%. For a normal debit card, we charge 0.99%. For some of the premium cards, such as Diners and Amex and international cards, there are charges which are slightly higher than 1.99. It's based on the card, and you can see the charges before you use it. It's all there in the app.
Plus GST, or is this inclusive GST?
No. So this is if the transaction is above rupees 2,000, then as per the government's norm, there is a GST on top of it.
So it will be GST of 18%.
That's right. So above rupees 2,000, there will be a GST of 18% on only the transaction charge. So on the 1.99, there will be a GST. So it'll come to roughly 2.35%.
And what about what is the turnaround time? By what, how many days does the payment reflect in the merchant's bank?
Or T+1 irrespective. So usually one thinks T+1 is 1 working day. So therefore, if you're doing a transaction on a Friday and Saturday is a bank holiday, Sunday is a holiday, then you get the money on Monday. We make sure you get the money every T+1. So irrespective of whether it's a holiday or not. So even if you do a transaction on Friday, you will get the money on Saturday. If you do a transaction on Saturday, you'll get it on Sunday. So it's strictly T+1 from our perspective.
Okay, so now again, just to understand the process, first, one would have to download the app from the App Store or Play Store, whatever, then register. There's some KYC process. What exactly is the KYC process, if you can just...
So essentially, we take the PAN card and then we check it in the backend. If everything matches, we take the PAN card and your bank details. So then we do what is called a penny dropping. So we send 1 rupee to the bank and see if that bank account really exists. And if the name of the bank account matches with the name on the PAN card. This to make sure that there is no money laundering happening or funding of terrorism happening. These are regular RBI regulations. So we just make sure that we adhere to that. We make sure that the person who's actually taking the system is the person who's going to do the transaction. So in case something wrong happens in future, we can pass that information to the authorities and they can do whatever they want to do. So coming back to the question that you asked, essentially getting the PAN card number and getting the bank details, and that's about it. Then we can go ahead and start off.
So that's pretty quick. Okay. Couple of other questions. Interesting one is settlement time for American Express cards. Is that also T+1 or is it more?
It is all T+1. And I'll just explain how it is T+1. We actually borrow on that day to make a payment. So irrespective of when Amex pays us or when, if there is a bank holiday or not, we immediately borrow and we make the payment so that our customers get the money on T+1. We take a hit and that's how it works.
I'll just go through other questions. Works on iPhone, I'm sure it does. I'm sure you're on the App Store.
No, so actually we are not on iPhone yet because most of our users were on Android. Nobody had asked for iPhone. If there's a specific request, we can build it in 6 to 7 weeks. So if there are a lot of people asking for iPhone solution, we will build that up. We're right now only on Android because that was our user base till now.
And again, there are no separate charges in terms of what kind of transaction one is doing, scan and pay or QR code, whatever, the charge remains the same.
The charge remains the same. For QR code, it's 0 charges. There's no charge on QR code. There is no charge on RuPay debit card either. So we follow the government, the RBI regulations. So there is no charge on QR code, no charge on RuPay debit card. The charges are only on Visa and MasterCard and diners and Amex. So those are the charges. Yeah.
Another very specific question from one of our members says that his is a proprietorship concern. So the PAN card is in the proprietor's name, but the business has obviously got a trade name. So how would that work in terms of your KYC?
So it depends on whose name the bank account is created. So the bank account and the PAN card should match. If it doesn't, please reach out to us. We'll figure it out from the back end. You can always reach out to us.
And can more than one person in a trial? So I could have 5 people moving around. Can they all have CardSe on their phone and accept payments simultaneously from different clients?
Absolutely. So they can all accept the payments into the same bank account, and we can give you a system by which you can have on a daily basis a report on who received how much of money and by city. So if you've got operations in Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, we can give you the reports by each of these cities and by how much money has been collected by which agent.
So basically, I could have 5 people using it in 5 different locations. The transactions will all get consolidated, and I'll get my payment T+1 and a report, which will be a consolidated report.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah. And you can do the breakdown. So you can drill down and see where the money came in from. So you would like to see the details, right? That, which if the agent in Chennai did how much and the agent in Delhi did how much. So you will get that details and you will get a consolidated payout.
Right. Okay. So I think that kind of gets through all the questions, I think, which our members have asked. And if there's anyone else who wants to ask a question, please just go ahead. Yeah. So it says Amex card, Visa and Master are the same. Yes, they are.
No, the charges are different. So Amex is higher.
Amex card is different. Amex is higher. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. One very interesting question. Can you negotiate and give special rates for TAAI members?
Yes. In fact, Jyoti was very clear that we must provide a special rate. So just bear with us for a day or 2. We are working it out with our backend. And we will announce special rates for the TAAI members.
Yeah, I'd like to come in here because the moment you say that we have only around 200 people on this, 100 plus people on the webinar or whatever, you will see 5 times the fold coming in. That's what the members are all looking forward to, I think.
Yes, we are just working it out. We have to work out with our backend because our margins are very little. We basically pass whatever we have in the backend. And we have waived all the charges for all other charges for TAAI, but also on a per transaction basis, we want to make it cheaper. So we're waiting for our backend to get back to us. Once we hear, we will let you know what those charges are. It'll be slightly lower than the regular charges that we're talking about.
Great, lovely. Thank you.
That's nice. And even when you board international cards, the charges would be similar, or how would it be?
No, charges are higher for international cards,
They would
and we will enable international cards on a case-by-case basis because of the large-scale frauds that happen. I can go around talking about the kind of frauds that happen. People actually bring sack full of cards from outside, and then they start swiping them, and they did that with our system also. So we are very careful as to with which merchants we enable the international card, but obviously the TAAI members are all very, very credible members. So just reach out to us and we'll enable that for your system. But the charges will be higher because it's essentially what the backend charges. So the card network charges higher for international cards, and we just pass that through.
Okay, and one of the members has requested, if possible, for you to send this presentation by email to all the registered attendees of the webinar.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'll send it to Dr. Himanshu, and then he can probably broadcast it.
And what about someone has asked, what is the name one has to search for on Play Store?
CardSe, CardSe. So it's I'll type it in also. It's CardSe.
It's just plain simple CardSe. Okay, that's what the search.
Plain simple CardSe. I'll also show how it looks like on the Play Store. Just give me a second. So it looks like this. There'll be a big SE written and card on the top, and it's a red button.
Right. Okay. And again, interesting question. What about refunds? If we have to refund to a customer, say there's a cancellation of a ticket and the entire amount is to be refunded, how does that work?
Right. I'll just take a second off because I searched on the Google Play Store. We have a 4.6 rating and people are very happy with our app, and we've got 260,000 merchants using it.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. So refunds happen. It depends on what kind of refunds you're talking about. So if the customer says that I want to cancel the ticket and therefore the money has to be given back, it goes back into the same instrument. So we initiate that through the app, and there may be a case where the transaction did not go through, which rarely happens, in which case the refund will happen almost immediately. So that's how the refund process works.
So yeah, I think now we are done with the questions. And maybe, of course, if there's anything more, we can compile them and send them across to you at a later stage.
Sure, absolutely. So maybe I can take, so there's a question on 24-hour help desk. No, we have only an 8-hour help desk, which is from 9:30 to 6:30. It also says, can we have your company support details? It's built into the app. In fact, you can put in a request into the app 24 hours a day. It gets solved only during the working hours, or it gets resolved during the working hours. There's another question which says, is it UPI supported? Absolutely, yes, which is the QR code based solution. And can you give card charges once again? It's built into the app. So you will see the charges in the app. For a regular credit card, which is Visa and MasterCard, it's 1.99%. For a regular debit card, it's 0.99%. For a RuPay debit card, it's 0% till I think rupees 2,000. And then again, I think it's a very small charge after that. So those are the charges. Then there's a question, can I have multiple logins for my branches and collect to a central main bank account? So what you will have is separate logins, but each one of them having the same bank account. The reason being that we need to have an audit trail as to who has logged in. So we don't give the same login, but there is different logins with the same bank account being enabled in the backend. Then it asks if UPI is instant or takes 1 day. If the UPI transaction is done by 4 o'clock, then you get the settlement in the same day. If it's done after 4 o'clock, you get the money the next day. Then there's a question, sir, I heard according to RBI rule, transaction till 2 lakhs had no charges. No, that's not really true. That is only for NEFT, I believe.
EFTs, I think, yes.
Yeah. So for card transaction, there are charges. No, essentially a card is a credit being given, and there is a cost of that credit, and there's a cost for processing it. So there are costs associated with these transactions. There's a question. So one account of company can be used by various employees on their phones to accept payments. Yes, that's the case. The same account can be used by multiple employees. Is there UPI available for collect online payment? So we are enabling that as part of the link-based payment. So you will have that in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then any updates on corporate credit card charges? Same amount. Same thing. Corporate credit card has a higher amount, has a higher charge. And I don't have the charge off the cuff, but it'll be somewhere between 2 to 2.5%, which is a charge that the network charges us. Will there be any cashback or offer to customers for using cards at CardPay? Unfortunately, no. We work with almost zero margin, which is why we were still struggling to come out with a special offer for TAAI, besides waiving off all the onboarding charges and so on. But we will come back with a lower rate for the TAAI members. Who will pay the charges for the card?
Who will pay the card charges? The card holder or the merchant? Is it?
It's the merchant. It's always the merchant. So the card holder doesn't pay the charges. So you can factor it into the cost of the transactions. You can charge 2% more from the card holder, but it's always the merchant who pays the charge. It's same as, you go to any store, when you pay 100 rupees, you pay 100 rupees. You don't pay 102 rupees. It's the retail store who then takes care of it. Will card charges deduct from customer card or from our amount? It'll get deducted from your amount. So you can charge higher if you want. Please share your customer care number or your contact number. I can type in my contact number. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll also put in my email address in the chat box. So please feel free to reach out. If I'm not able to pick up the call, just drop me a WhatsApp and I will call back.
And in the card billing statement, will the charge show as CardSe or will the agency's name show that?
No, it'll show as CardSe.
Customer gets this.
It'll show as CardSe.
So when the customer gets his statement,
yes, they'll see it as CardSe instead of the agency. Yeah. Will card charges deduct from customer card or from our? We covered that. Can the card charges be charged from the customer only? No, the merchant has to do that. So you have to basically charge a higher amount if you want the customer to pay. Then there's 2% plus 18% GST, right? Yes, that's for the regular credit cards, Visa and MasterCard. Is the card billing statement, will it show CardSe or agency name? Yeah, it will show CardSe. Somebody is asking can't see. I don't know what that is. Okay, I'll skip that. I have put my phone number. Please reach out to me. Are there any charges if we need the credit of funds same day, even if we do transactions after 4 p.m.? Difficult for us to do, but if you really want it, we can work out something. Depends on the volume of transactions. If you've got high volume of transactions, we can enable it for you for the same day. So please reach out to us. We can have a separate conversation and we'll try our best to enable that. And your company will send us a monthly invoice with amount being debited to our agency plus show our GST. Yes, we send you a monthly GST invoice and the charges get deducted immediately, but you will get a monthly GST invoice. Can we have your number? Let me just put my number again.
We'll share that, we'll put it on a mail and send that to everyone. I think that's better with your video so that with the presentation done here so that everyone gets it.
Sure. Then there's a question, charges for UPI payment. If it's QR code based, it's 0. Otherwise, it's 0.03%, 0.05%, which is very, very little. So could you please speak your mobile number and email address over the call as cannot see in the chat box? I will do that. It's my number is 98182130076 and my email is J for Jaipur, B for Bhatinda, H for Hyderabad @ CARDSE, which is cardse.co. By sending QR code abroad, they can pay is for overseas clients. No, they can do that only in Dubai and in Singapore because that's where the integration with NPCI has been done. Otherwise, the QR code doesn't work abroad. Could you repeat the refund procedure? Sorry, missed that. You know what? I'll add that in the presentation and send it. So I'll add the refund procedure because that's an important part, and I'll send that. Same question about refunds. If the transaction comes in or cancellation after a few days, is a client sitting in other country? How can he make payment to us? If it's a bank payment, it has to go through the international banking channels. That doesn't work for us. So we are specifically a domestic payments enabler. Can we accept international cards? Yes, you can accept international cards. The amount gets credited to our account after deducting the charges with GST. That's right. So the GST gets deducted if it's a charge above rupees 2,000. Below rupees 2,000, there is no GST. Will there be an option to charge the card, charge the card charges directly from the customer in the future? Didn't quite understand the question, but yes, you can charge so you can't save the customer card. That is not allowed. That is against the RBI regulation. So every time the customer has to pay, you have to take the card number and the card again and make the payment, or send them a fresh link, and will enable the link-based payment in a few weeks' time.
No, I think what the RIA means is that, can we reverse the charges that are being charged? So that you can build up in your fare or your invoice and raise it. I think that's the only way currently. But in the future, she says, can we reverse it to the client? So that is what she's asking, I think.
Yeah, which is like a refund, right? So we'll enter that. We'll put that in the presentation and send.
No, she's talking about the charges. Can we reverse it to the client instead of we paying it first?
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's what she means. Yeah.
No, you can't charge on the customer. But what you can do is you can increase the invoice amount by the 2%, let's say.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
There's a question on refund. I'll put that in the presentation and send
I think refunds, you put everything in the presentation.
Yeah.
Is taking an offline charge without physical card being present possible on your app? I didn't quite understand that. Yes, I mean, you can take the card and take the details of it and enter it like the way I showed. You can manually enter the details and get the payment. So let me show that again.
No, they're talking about a link. They're saying, is it possible to generate a link and send it to a customer, and customer can pay?
So we'll enable that in a couple of weeks' time. So by middle of May, you will get that. Yes. Absolutely.
So I think questions have been coming fast and furious, but it's kind of cooled off now. So
yeah.
So
I think that's
very, very interesting product, I must say, Jayjit. I think you're going to get a very good response from our colleagues from the trade. And I think we'll try and close it here. And if we could have one of our office bearers to please present a vote of thanks. Mr. Bhatia, are you there? HSG? Sorry, no, I don't think they are.
okay. So I think you can do that.
Back to you.
Amish, sorry, I am driving, so can you do it on my behalf, please?
And Jay says he's on a normal login, so he's not on the panelist, so even he's not able to. And I don't think Mr. Sriram Patel is, the birthday boy is on there. So, ma'am, back to you.
No, back to you. Please do the honors. I have welcomed him, and I'm going to speak to him the moment this finishes off anyway. So, but anyway, yes, thank you from all our side. I think it was wonderful to have more clarity on how it works, and I'm sure a lot of doubts have been cleared. But an official thank you, please, Amish, go ahead.
So, thank you, Jayjit, on behalf of TAAI. I must say this is really a breakthrough kind of technology, something which can be really helpful, because we've all faced major problems with POS machines. And as far as I remember, in my office, I even had to pay a deposit to my bank to get a POS machine. So all those things go. Maintenance-wise, there is no problem. And I can have one boy in one end of town, another guy in the other end of town, both accept cards at the same time. So I think a lot of benefits to travel agents, and considering that there's no real appreciable difference in costs, I see quite a bit of business coming your way, and let's hope it works that way, especially after you give us our special rates for TAAI members. So thank you very much to all the attendees. We hope you really enjoyed this presentation and shift your business soon to CardSe as partners of TAAI. And thank you, Mrs. Mayal, President
Thank
TAAI.
you. Thank you so much.
All of us this opportunity to get to know about this product. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amish and Jyoti, for giving us this opportunity. We really enjoyed making this presentation, and we look forward to your business. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.